Odds are you're going to be hearing a lot more about LockBit in the news.
LockBit had carried out cyber attacks against important infrastructure like hospitals and large industrial groups across the world.
It's a type of ransomware, a program cybercriminals use to hack into different organizations, extract and encrypt their data, then demand huge sums of money for them to get it back. But now, LockBit is public enemy number one.
Ransomware and, LockBit as part of this challenge is a multi-billion-dollar integrated global industry that threatens the security of critical institutions and infrastructure.
Last Thursday, the U.S. Department of Justice announced criminal charges against a Russian national they say is responsible for attacks on 4 continents. Just a few days earlier, the cybersecurity arm of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security put out a joint advisory with the FBI and 6 other countries, including Canada, Germany, France, and the UK, saying in 2022, LockBit was the most deployed ransomware variant across the world and continues to be prolific in 2023. And no wonder, in just a few years, they've hit businesses, big and small.
According to reports, the printers in the Royal Mail sorting office suddenly started spewing out messages from the LockBit ransomware gang saying your data are stolen and encrypted and demanding payment to sort the situation out.
They've crippled critical targets in finance, food and agriculture, education, energy. One of the biggest dental care insurance providers in the US got hacked, and criminals got a hold of private data on more than 9 million Americans. In the UK, their National Postal Service got hit hard. Hackers demanded $80 million. And in Canada, they hit a children's hospital.
Last month, Sick Kids Hospital was hit with a ransomware attack. Its network systems shut down for weeks.
Thousands of attacks worldwide, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars extorted. But some wonder whether the group is getting too big and too reckless. And though it is one of the most successful and prolific cyber extortion gangs on the planet, they've now got a giant target painted on their backs. LockBit at its core is software that works like a lot of other malware. The entry point may be a sophisticated phishing scam to extract someone's username and password, or an email that comes in with a rotten link, or they just hack your system or guess your password. Either way, there's an in. From there, the hacker solidifies their position. They establish a secure and consistent channel of communication between their computer and the computer they're hacking. Then it's about chipping away, using what bare-bones access they have to gradually unlock more and more important parts of the system. So it's kind of like breaking into someone's house. Maybe step 1 was tricking the person into giving you their address. Once you've got that, you go visit and notice that their window is wide open, so you slip inside. Suddenly you've got access to their whole house, but you still can't get into the safe. That is, until you find the combination written on a piece of paper inside a desk drawer. In the world of hacking, that's lateral movement and privilege escalation. Once you do that, you can properly execute the attack. You copy the data from the victim's computer so you have it too. You destroy any backups they have. You encrypt what they've got left, locking them out of their own data. Then the negotiations begin. As a hacker, you want money, they want the key to unlock their files. But there are a few key reasons why LockBit in particular stands out, why it's seen as such a threat. One is sheer volume. Those 7 governments who put out that joint advisory last week estimate up to a quarter of all recent ransomware attacks use LockBit software because, in part, it's so easy to use.
He wanted to create something kind of like Apple, where it just worked. It's all point and click, put in the domain, search for vulnerabilities and exploit.
That was John DiMaggio. He's a security strategist, and he spent ages researching LockBit, even going undercover on the forums that they use. And yeah, everything I've read and heard about LockBit is that it's actually quite a sophisticated, almost professional business. They write the software, update it, run the servers, provide tech support, and then license their code to hackers who launch the actual attacks. LockBit charges for this up front, and if the attack works, they get a cut of the action too, reportedly about 20%. There's even a term for this business model. It's called ransomware as a service.
This enables them to scale. And much like any business, you don't want to be the only person selling your products. You want a whole network of resellers.
Now, like any business, LockBit needs customers. And over the years, it's gone to some interesting lengths to hype the brand. For example, it once offered $1,000 US to anyone who'd get a LockBit tattoo. They have bug bounties, meaning they'll pay anyone, criminal or legit researcher, who helps them find holes or flaws in their software. And as a bit of bravado, they famously promised $1 million to anyone who could correctly identify the LockBit big boss, a man shrouded in secrecy, someone whom we only know from their username, LockBit Sup.
Every time something happens, when the best thing to do would be to just be quiet, no, you got LockBit, the leader himself out there posting to the forums, the criminal forums, talking about things and saying things that he probably shouldn't say and getting other criminals spun up.
But this aggressive expansion doesn't come without problems. Every publicity stunt, every innovation, every update to LockBit software brings in new hackers. LockBit calls them affiliates. New groups of people shrouded in their own anonymity who have different goals, different tactics, different ethics. LockBit doesn't control what they do, how much they demand from their victims, or who they hit. And that becomes a very difficult, very dangerous game, one that severely backfired late last year.
The hospital was hit by what it calls a code gray Sunday night. That means a system failure. SickKids says it's still working to bring all impacted systems back online.
SickKids is a teaching and research hospital for children in Toronto. But last December, a crippling LockBit attack on its systems, which caused delays to medical images and lab tests, affected internal systems, mangled phone lines, the website. It was a mess.
Several internal phone lines and web pages went down, and clinical teams ran into delays accessing patient lab and imaging results.
But this particular attack was also against LockBit's internal code of conduct for its members, if you can believe they have one. Apparently, there's a rule: no attacks that might lead to death. And the thought that LockBit might be more than criminal, that it was evil for attacking children, this was a PR nightmare.
If cyber criminals are willing to attack a children's hospital, they're willing to attack any institution. Nothing is out of bounds for these criminals.
Who wants to be seen to be paying a ransom to a group that attacks a hospital for sick kids?
LockBit actually said sorry for the attack. "We formally apologize," they said in a written post on their blog, and that they'd give back the decryptor for free, and said the person responsible for the attack is blocked and no longer in our affiliate program. But the damage was done.
I think there's a significant question as to whether that apology is genuine. In my view, it isn't. We've seen LockBit attack vulnerable institutions and leverage the vulnerability of individuals and populations to advance its criminal activities before.
It took weeks for SickKids to restore priority systems, and even if nobody died as a result, it all only added to the notion that LockBit is dangerous, and that every additional day it is allowed to exist is one too many.
I don't think people realize how common ransomware incidents are, or the sheer magnitude of the data that gets stolen and released online.
LockBit has, for years, flown so effectively under the radar, partly because victims stay quiet. Most people think any estimate we come up with for how many businesses they've extorted would just be a dramatic undercount. There's a lot of shame in this game. Nobody wants to admit that they were lax enough with their security to be hacked. But now, LockBit is on everyone's radar.
LockBit has significant well-documented affiliations with Russia. These ransomware gangs operate with the tacit acknowledgement, even approval of sovereign governments that are not allied with the West, that in fact want these ransomware gangs to attack targets in the West, and are quite willing to let them do so, and quite willing, to shelter attackers within their borders from extradition and from the reach of Western law enforcement.
And the bigger they get, the more they brag, hitting critical, high-visibility targets, the higher and higher the stakes seem to get. We'll be right back.